You are now tuned into Celeste The Therapist Podcast. Hello, my name is Celeste. Thank you so much for giving me a try. If you are new here, I want to say thank you so much for checking me out. What we do here is I talk about areas of our lives that we get stuck in. I talk about why we get stuck, and I help you shift the way you think about it by giving you practical tools. I'm all about using what you have, starting where you can. And I think a lot of times people tend to give up because they don't understand why they're feeling this things that they're feeling or why things are happening. And I find that the more educated we are about a topic, the better it is for us to create change in our life. If you are a longtime listener, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I appreciate you. If you enjoy these episodes that I do me a favor, share it with somebody that you love. If you want a topic discussed, all you got to do is email me info@celestethetherapist.com. If you want to follow me, you can follow me everywhere at Celeste the Therapist. Also, I have a whole wellness center that I created called Shifting the Way You Think. And if you want to learn more about the Wellness Center, get involved, attend one of the classes, all you got to do is go to stwyt.com. Again, that's www.stwyt.com. All right, let's get into this amazing episode. You are now. Hello, how are you? So, my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist. And today we're talking about imposter syndrome. If you are not familiar with imposter syndrome, you want to stick around. If you are familiar with imposter syndrome and know you struggle, what I'm going to do is help you understand what it is, how you can work on combating it, and how you can maintain your confidence throughout this process. So, one of the things that's so important to me is educating people about mental health. I find that when we are understanding what mental health is, how it works, that the way it looks like with our change that we need to make, especially up here mentally, for people that are listening, this is on video, there's visuals, help you follow along better. I would highly suggest grabbing a notebook, keeping these notes. One thing about me is I'm a visual learner and I write things down. Write things down. Don't let this be the last time you listen to this podcast. Definitely such a good way to learn and help your mind gather new information. The more new information your mind gathers, the better it is for you to work on creating change. All right, let's just get into the topic, y'all. And if you are not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button for people that are watching me on YouTube. And if you're listening to me on an audio podcast and you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. All right, let's get into what is imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome is the internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be. It's that nagging feeling that you're a fraud, that you'll be found out at any moment. Really common thing, especially people, women. So this was done on women, this study, but minorities, people of color, like we are living, especially if you live in America, right? We're living in a society that was never meant for us. There's a lot of systems in place and things in place that has us like feeling like, am I enough? Especially if you grew up in a system where maybe you're the first person to go to college or the first person to do certain things, right? And you're around a lot of peers that don't look like you, it's really hard to not have imposter syndrome because the environment just doesn't work for you, right? So it's so important for me to express this to people so that if they're in environments that don't work for them, they're not internalizing it and saying like, what's wrong with me? Instead of looking at it and be like, what's wrong with the environment? When I'm working with people, I'm always working with them to help them see who they really are. The best thing you can do is maintain being grounded in who you are. So when you are in spaces that don't fit who you are, at least you are mindful of that and you're not letting the environment dictate what you and who you are. So these are some common characteristics of having imposter syndrome. So, one, feeling self doubt and inadequacy. Two, attributing success to luck or external factors rather than personal ability. And then three, fear of failure and perfectionism. Be mindful on how you celebrate the moments. When you apply for that job, celebrate the moment. When you get an A, B on the test, let's say you had a C last time, then you got a B, celebrate that moment. Every moment you take, celebrate it. Don't wait till you get the car, get the house, get the degree. Don't wait until that business takes off where you're seeing the income coming in. If you're not being mindful of, the things that you're doing to get yourself to where you're going to be, like in the moment intentionally, you're going to find yourself struggling with imposter syndrome. When it comes to the fear of failure, that's huge. A lot of people struggle with the idea of, am I going to fail if I do this? Right? Especially if you grew up, if you grew up and your parents were doctors, your uncles were doctors, right? And then you go to med school, it'd be harder. You wouldn't see yourself having imposter syndrome as much because you're living in an environment with people that are doctors and that are already doing it. Now, if you grew up and your parents didn't go to medical school or didn't even go to college, and then you call yourself wanting to be a doctor, and then you go to med school, like it gets challenging, especially if you don't see nobody that looks like you and if you didn't grow up in that system, right? So be mindful on what's happening. The thing about the mind is that the mind doesn't have concept of time. All it has is the experiences. And so the more opportunities you can give yourself the experience, like with the way that you're thinking about things, the better it is for you to shift your thought process and help that imposter syndrome like kind of like wash off of you. So those are the common characteristics. Now let's just jump into how it affects your mental health. So anxiety and stress is huge. That's one of the ways that people are affected. Low self-esteem, burnout, and isolation. So with low self-esteem, it makes it difficult for you to understand your accomplishments, which is why I said it's important to be mindful of what you're doing. Burnout is huge. If you're constantly trying to like live up to a false reality, you're going to find yourself struggling with that. And then isolation, that's big. So imposter syndrome can create feelings of isolations as individuals may feel they cannot share their struggles with others. One thing that's common is that people think they're the only ones in the struggle, and I promise you, you're not. It's pretty common. So be mindful if any of these things stick out for you, be mindful because it's affecting your mental health. Now let's jump into strategies. Like, how is it that you can work on combating your imposter syndrome, right? That's important. I'm all about shifting the way you think. I'm all about making sure you have the tools you need to get to the next level. So let's talk about that, how it affects your mental health. So, I mean, how the strategies you can use can help you with your mental health, right? So that's important. So, strategies to combat it. One, acknowledge how you're feeling. The first step to overcoming anything is acknowledging what you're feeling, right? Everybody knows I'm big on feelings chart. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's a feelings wheel from Beam. I love that organization. Screenshot it, have it handy. It's so important to understand like what you are feeling. So acknowledge what you're feeling. You can journal it. That's something that's possible. Number two, you can work on reframing your thoughts. Anybody who knows me, I'm all about reframing. Be mindful on how you're speaking to yourself when I'm working with people. And I see that they're talking negative to themselves. I'm always checking in with them like, hey, if you just said that to me, imagine what's going on in your head, right? So challenge negative self-talk by reframing. So instead of saying, I don't belong here, try saying, I've earned my place through hard work and dedication, right? Practice those affirmations of self-worth. They're so important. Celebrating achievements, important. Like I said earlier in the podcast, taking time to acknowledge how far you've come is so important. Making time to reflect. If you're so distracted, just always grinding, always on the next thing, how the heck your mind going to be like, yo, look at how far we come. So it's so important for you to like really take time to think about how far you're coming and reflecting on that. Seeking support, be around people that understand, that you trust, right? Consider seeking professional help if it really starts impacting your mental health. That's so important. People do not understand the importance of community. In isolation, your negative thoughts can continue to go and go. When you're in community, when you're talking to people, I promise you it starts to look different. And then I need you to be mindful and setting realistic goals. Do not be mindful on how you are framing your goals. So set achievable goals for yourself, break them down into manageable steps. this can help reduce the pressure that you're putting on yourself. So if you want to start walking more and you're not walking at all and you say, I'm going to walk 7 days a week, it'll be hard for you to do that. But instead, be like, you know what? For the next 2 weeks, I want to try to go out at least twice a week. 2 days out of 7 days feels more realistic than 7 days. You do that for a few weeks and you amp it up to 3 days a week, right? Being mindful of how you are framing things is going to be so important. Let's watch this quick advertise. I hope you're enjoying the episode. Quick announcement. I want to give you some ways you can support, right? I have two books. One is called Relationship Goals. It's a guide to a healthy relationship. I also have a guided journal. And if you find yourself stuck in thoughts, want to get your thoughts on paper, I ask you different questions and I also ask you how you're feeling. I provide you with the feelings chart. If you go to celestetherapist.com, you can find 365 days of intentional living along with relationship goals. Another way you can support me, I have this wellness center whoop, whoop, that I'm so excited about called Shifting the Way You Think Wellness Center. At my center, I do not want finances to be a reason why people can't get what they need. So if you want to donate a class to someone, please feel free to go to my website, stwyt.com, and you can give a donation. The classes run between $15 and $35. My goal is for everyone to be able to access these services regardless of finances. So if you can donate, please donate to your girl center. I would be greatly appreciated. All right, y'all, let's get back into this amazing episode. All right. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is building confidence. That's so important. So, building confidence, self-compassion, practice self-compassion by treating yourself with the same kindness you would treat someone else. It never fails. When people talk so negative about themselves, I'll say, would you say this to your child or your best friend? And they really get emotional. They'll say no. Visualize success. Use visualization techniques to imagine yourself succeeding. This is literally how I live my life. If I was not visualizing my goals and my plans on a regular basis, it'd be hard for me to continue going forward. And then surround yourself with positivity, engage with positive influences, whether uplifting content, supportive communities, and encouraging healthy relationships. This is huge. These are so important if you want to work on building confidence. Please think about doing these things. It really helps. Every little bit you do helps. All right, so I'm going to share a quick video that talks about imposter syndrome because I really want you to understand what it is and how you can work through it from a different perspective.
Imposterism is an experience where you have trouble internalizing your accomplishments and attribute them to luck or chance instead of skill and ability. You also fear that you'll be found out and considered to be a fake or a fraud. Some people refer to this as imposter syndrome, but it's not a disorder, but more of a phenomenon or an experience that anyone can have. It was initially conceptualized studying high achieving women, but further research has shown that it occurs equally in men and women. However, it tends to be more common among women and minorities in certain settings. If you feel your environment is telling you that you don't belong or that you're not good enough, those messages reinforce your inadequacies and make you question your skills.
All right, there you have it. That is imposter syndrome. I really hope this was helpful. My goal is to just give you little small nuggets of information. Like the lady said in the video, this is not something that's a diagnosis. It's something that is internal that you feel, and I hope to set somebody free where they're like, oh my gosh, now I understand what's going on with me, right? So if you enjoyed this episode, do me a huge favor, share it with somebody that you love. If you want to learn more about the podcast than me, go to celestetherapist.com. And if you want to learn more about the Wellness Center, go to stwyt.com, stwyt.com. All right, until next time, beautiful people, I will talk to you.